Before we get Hello and welcome back to the Rovers Chat YouTube channel as we sit down to preview Rovers' home game against Middlesbrough on Saturday at Ewood Park. Welcome to the channel. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you very much. Remember to hit subscribe while you're here. And if you're watching for the 100th time, thank you for your continued support. We will have Mark joining us soon, but I thought we'd go live at 12:30, make sure we're actually starting on time. Get your comments in as well. We'll discuss the game, we'll have a look. And we'll see what happens. Yeah, Adam, just a tester, really. If people want it, then we'll put it on. If they don't, then we'll go back to doing the pre-recording. We're not too fussed. It's whatever works for people. I prefer to do live, really. But if people don't want it, if people would rather watch it before and catch up, then so be it. So obviously Middlesbrough come to Ewood. Not the best of starts for Middlesbrough. We spoke to Tom from the Borough Breakdown podcast. Really good guest. We spoke to him live on the... Well, not live, sorry, but recorded on the other side show. Really, really, really good guest. I thought really give us a good insight into Middlesbrough. And he kind of said what we're expecting, that we started the year thinking Middlesbrough might, be up there again after last year's playoff disappointment when they got beat off a Coventry side that, in my eyes, deserved to go up fully. But this year hasn't worked for them so far. It's not really been the way that they wanted it to go. And ultimately, that's how it works out at times. I don't think the side that the table shows they are so far. I think they're a side that have a lot of talent and should be able to do well against us. They do struggle because of the talent they've lost. Chuba Akpom obviously departed the club to Ajax. He had a season I don't think anyone expected or anyone had backed him to have, really. So Chuba's obviously a big miss. Ryan Giles at left back, who seems to have performed at every club but Rovers, which kind of feels right for him. But ultimately, these players and these ones that leave, it happens. If you're a side that don't go up, you'll get poached. Look at Coventry, who are obviously 1-0 up at Hull at the moment. They had Victor Gyökeres up top, didn't they? Gustavo Harmer in the midfield. There were a lot of talk about Callum O'Hare leaving. He probably would have if it had been fit. So there's definitely a lot for Rovers, to go against Middlesbrough. But Middlesbrough aren't short of talent. It just sometimes doesn't work out at the start of the year. They started slow before. I think last year they started slow because they sacked the manager. Because when Rovers went to the Riverside, I believe, apologies for not knowing his name, Leo was in charge. But it is what it is. It'll be a tough test for Rovers. Let us know below as well, before we move on later in the show, to the predicted XI and how we'd like to see Rovers line up. Let us know below. Give us your preferred XI and your predicted XI. So let us know how you'd like to see Rovers line up and how you think we'll line up. We know John Dole sometimes lines up a bit different to what people want. So ultimately, just let us know down below. But thank you to everyone who's tuning in so far. And we'll keep the comments coming. Hopefully Mark should be joining us soon as well, so we can have a bit of a discussion around Rovers. You never know with these streams. Not everything goes to plan, so let's see. Just for anyone watching as well, obviously 5,000th game for Rovers on Saturday. They'll be doing a lot of videos on Twitter. I've just seen a Jordan Rhodes one go up, which anyone who watches Jordan Rhodes knows how much I love him, knows how much I appreciate him and enjoyed his time here. So, Jordan Rhodes is almost a hero to me. As a fan who didn't manage to see the Premier League winning days, I know I saw the League One promotion, and I saw Santa Cruz in that play. But if we're talking post-2012, Jordan Rhodes has to be top there. So if we move on to look at how we feel Rovers will line up now, I'll do the preferred XI in a separate video just for people watching. That will go out on the channel. I'll do it in the morning. I'll put it out at 8 a.m. You can go and watch that before the game. But in terms of how I expect Rovers to line up, given John Dole's comments today, I'm expecting Leo Volstead to be in net for Rovers. Not Leo Volstead, sorry, Enzi Pearce to be in net. I feel Leo Volstead won't get his chance yet. John Dole's yet to drop a keeper during his time at Rovers. I don't see it happening here. So we're likely to see Pearce in net, Volstead on the bench. JRC could be back from fitness. I think we'll see him. Hayden Carter, Dom Haim, Harry Pickering will make the usual back line as always. Trevor Wharton in the midfield, as we always expect. And then the front four is tough. I think Sam Gallagher leads the line, given his record against Middlesbrough in the past and given the fact that Harry Lenner's not had a goal in the last couple of games, although I'd argue he's still done well. We'll have to see what's happening. Smodic's in behind, and I'll probably go for Moran and Hedges, but it'd be interesting what you say. Adam Telelovic sounds like he's ready to go. Sorry, his interview was very good. I was very impressed with him. And do you know what? We'll get the opinions of someone else who's watched that Telelovic interview. Mark, welcome. How are we?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Glad to have you back on as always. I'll just turn my volume up. I forgot that might be an issue on here. Go on, Mark. I'll let you talk about Telelovic. Have you watched the interview? What have you made of it?
I was impressed with his English. For starters, he not any better. He's he's a big lad. He looks a confident boy, doesn't he? He doesn't seem arrogant at all, though. I think he's. I'm really looking forward to seeing him, if I'm being honest. I was trying not to get sucked into that and optimism, but I think I'm in.
Yeah, I'm the same. I was trying to back myself up a bit. I'm trying to not get excited over the striker because he's obviously not had a goal at a big level. But I think the excitement from Rovers fans is not knowing what we're going to get. I think that's a positive.
Yeah.
We're sick of the same old strikers. Like Danny Graham, brilliant for Rovers, but you knew what you were going to get from Danny Graham as such. Telelovic, you don't have a clue, and it's nervy, but it's also really good. I was just discussing the XI. I expect to see. What do you expect? Do you think he's going to go for a similar side to the one we put out, a similar back line, and the same midfield too, etc.? Do you think he might change it up?
I think it'd be very similar, to be honest. I don't think there'll be many surprises up front. I think that said, Sam Gallagher's performance from the start was not the performance that we've seen from the bench. So will he take that into consideration? I don't think he will. I think he'll start him. But I think the back line will be interesting. From all accounts, they've been unbelievably impressed with James Hill. They said they knew he was a good player. They didn't know how good, and that's the players that have been saying that. So he's obviously a good footballer. I can't see him changing the back central too, and it sounds like Hyam's fit, doesn't it? And he's recovered. It was only a bit of an illness. I think it's the fullbacks.
Air conditioning on the coach, weren't it?
That's what happens when you travel down on a Thursday, stay over, and have to travel a bit more on a Friday, isn't it? Because we can't fly anymore. It's the fullbacks for me. That's the one I'm not sure of. I really don't know how he'll go. From his interview today, I think I'm now leaning that Rankin Costello won't start. I think it'll be Britton and Pickering. Or it really wouldn't surprise me from what they've been saying if James Hill starts at right back.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I'm stuck between. I was thinking as well, if Hill's at right back, could we see Callum Britton coming at left back?
That's exactly what I think, yeah.
I really like him at left back. I actually think he's better at left back, strangely. I think there's something about him, I feel a bit more confident. I like Pickering though, so I think we're in a position where Rovers have 3 full-backs, potentially 4 for him, that I think are really good. And
the turnaround from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell you the last time we had any fullback. Half the time I was like, just pick someone to start at either position and hope it works. Benno, who else did we have? Trav, Buckley,
Ben Marshall for a long time, didn't we?
Emerton. Best.
Yeah, as much as Emerton was a great right back, really, in the end, he was not a right back, was he, originally?
No.
It feels like Rankin Costello isn't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? Let us know down below as well your thoughts ahead of the game. How do you think the game will go? Any predictions? We'll come to that towards the end. So, Mark, I mentioned as well about the attacking lineup now. We mentioned Gallagher up top. What are you expecting for the wide positions? Do you think Moran's almost guaranteed of a start now? Is he kind of one of the first names on the team sheet going forward?
I think so. I think having watched, I saw a bit more than the snippets. I saw quite some detailed highlights of the Ireland game, and he played off the right again, which he's never played off that left hand side that Rovers have played him on. I think he will be back on that left hand side for Rovers. And I think you're right. Probably Hedges on the right. But moving forward, again, his comments about Sigurdsson today. Obviously, Thomason really rates him. He doesn't really talk about players like that. You look at the way he's described Telelovic. He sort of said, "Yeah, it's a big step up. He's not, or more or less said he's not ready. He's untried." Whereas Sigurdsson, he was supposed to think, "Listen, he's just not up to speed. He's a top player." So you would anticipate he's going to be that left hand side at some point. So I think it will then find Moran on the right, and I think he looked good on the right hand side. I know Thompson likes the alternate footed player on the either wing, but he looked a good player, on that right hand side. That was exciting.
Yeah, he really did, didn't he? He was I think Moran's one of them. We know he's got the talent, and Brighton are getting this constant reputation now for being, I'd argue, one of the best developers of young players in the Premier
They're
League now.
almost, to be fair to them, they're almost doing what we are doing in a way, aren't they? I mean, in the
Yeah.
Premier League, you can't necessarily just bring your academy graduates through, but what they are doing is guaranteeing players that are on the fringes, that they're not unknowns. People think they're just plucking them out of thin air. Other teams are aware of them, but Man United are going, that player's not going to, McAllister isn't going to start for us yet, Liverpool are saying. He goes there, has a couple of years in the Premier League, and they go, right now he will. And Brighton are playing that middleman role to a T.
Yeah, I think they're perfect. I think they're probably the dream club for Rovers, aren't they? To become, if you could become a club in the Prem now, I think Brighton are probably quite up there. Especially, I remember playing them in the year they got promoted, the year we went down actually, and if you'd have told me they'd become the club they have, I'd have laughed at you really at the time. But just incredible, and definitely a model for clubs going up, etc. Now, I don't know how much you've seen of the current games going on, Mark. Have you seen the scores?
I haven't. I've had a message saying that Russell Martin ball's going down the treat, so I'm presuming that's a sarcastic one.
It definitely was. They've played it round the back twice, I believe, and they were 2-0 down. They've gone 2-1 now, but I'm just looking at these clubs and seeing Southampton play Leicester. I remember that 9-0 a bit ago. It just feels a bit of a reality check of the league we're in at times, doesn't it? And Middlesbrough obviously come to Ewood, not been in the Prem too recently, but still a team full of talent, just not gone their way. What do you make of them coming up on this Saturday? Do you think they're going to give us a test? And they are looking for the first win of the season, so do you feel that it could come against us?
I always feel Rovers give teams a leg up. Never forget we did it at West Ham. It felt like it was nearly Christmas and they'd never won. We went down there and all of a sudden, there's your first home win. I think they've had 2 weeks to work on themselves, haven't they, on the training ground? I know we have. But you would anticipate a better Middlesbrough than they've been showing recently. Like I said the other day on the pod, I wasn't overly impressed with them when they came to Ewood last time. I thought they had a little bit of quality, that bit of quality that we were missing at times, that ended up winning them the game, obviously. But I wasn't overly impressed. I think they had a good run, obviously. They had such a good run, but that can happen in the Championship. That can happen to any team. We see Luton do it. We see Huddersfield do it when Warnock comes in, obviously to a lesser extent. But yeah, I wasn't quite sure about the Carrick hype. I think there's something there with him, but I felt it was overdone a little bit. And Chuba Akpom was the epitome of that for me. He's not a young player. He's 28? He's had an absolutely nothing of a career in terms of performances, and he's just had this purple patch, and they've sold him at the right time. And it felt like Middlesbrough were doing that for me last year. They were overachieving, but then they had the quality of Ramsey after that, and they had Cameron Archer. Any team should be doing all right with them.
Yeah, that right. I think they've struggled this year as well with Ryan Giles, who has performed at every club that he's been to other than Rovers, and he had a really good loan spell. Tom off the Borough Breakdown spoke to us on the other side and said that, look, they realise the challenge they've got this year, that they've got to start from afresh.
Yeah.
They've got all these players that have gone out. It'll be a tough test. Now, I wanted to mention Ewood, mainly Fortress Ewood. I was tagged in a brilliant stat by Playmaker Stats the other day. Sorry, I'll just bring it up. But Rovers have really probably done better at home than I expected since the new year. I think you forget the defeats, you forget the victories, the good days when you get beating games like that. Norwich won at Ewood and other ones, etc. So it's been a really positive time. Let me just pull them up. Here we are. It's the fewest goals conceded at home in 2023 from the top 4 tiers. Man City, Man United, Hull and Lincoln on 8, and then Rovers are on 9 with Liverpool and Sheff Wednesday now. Very good home record. Do you feel Ewood's just that? Obviously, your home ground is your better place for you, but do you feel just a lot more confident when Rovers play at Ewood than going away?
Yeah, and I don't really know why. I think considering our numbers, we have a good atmosphere now. I always feel a little bit. I think it's a bit of a shame we don't have a ground the size of like a Portsmouth who get this unbelievable reputation for being amazing supporters. If we had a ground that held 18,000, you'd be saying the same about us.
I'm the same.
It frustrates me.
It's like Rotherham. I'd love a ground at Rotherham. You know,
Yeah.
They say we had 16k, let's say, and it's all tight, and that noise that are going there, because
Yeah,
he would
it's noisy.
faithful at times, and it's
It
noisy.
is not, yeah, and it is noisy. And I think, them down the road, they brag about selling out the ground. What's it? Oh, 3 people. But it's not many, is it? But and it's a dub. Anyway, we're going very off piece. But yeah, it's I think it is. But then also at the same time, I like the way we play away from home. I think we're really capable of it. The Watford performance, the Swansea one last year. Now I know they're 2 opposite ends of the season. 3-1 Leicester, brilliant. The only downside to that, by the way, is Southampton will come in for Yundal Thompson. He fits them perfectly. If
It wouldn't shock me. It
no,
wouldn't shock me.
it really wouldn't. So as much as I have a bit of an irrational dislike for Russell Martin, I don't want him to do horrifically, just stumble. I think away from home, I always fancy us as well, because I think we can put that disciplined performance in, particularly against Middlesbrough. I mean, fortunately for me, my brother lives up in the northeast, so it's a game I always enjoy going to, and then we always seem to get 3 points, and Sam Gallagher seems to enjoy it more than anyone. He just does a stormer.
God, no, Middlesbrough fans love him. I wonder if it's that pressure playing at home as well with Rovers at times, that because I'm not criticising the fans here, but you're going to hear that more and more often if you're at home and that ball goes out of play. You're away from home. I know at Plymouth it obviously didn't go to plan, but say Watford, don't get me wrong, there were 1,000 of us there, but the noise isn't as nowhere near as worse as if
I thought the noise was actually poor at Watford for our away fans. I think we normally noisy. I think everyone was a bit.
Everyone battered off that trip. It battered everyone.
Yeah, it did. I was exhausted. Yeah,
I know it was. That's Sky TV for you.
Oh, yeah. But I think at home, do you know what I think one of the big things is? I think the supporters, and this is probably since let's not say since he came in, let's say since we got our act together in League One, because those first few games were horrific. Once the fans have seen that week in, week out, the players are doing the minimum, which is working their absolute whatever off, and then they're generally young players and they're giving it a go and they're trying, as long as they're not prattling around with it at the back for pointless sake, the fans are with them. And very, very rarely, I think, do the fans get on the back. I think they just stick with them. And those last 10 minutes, last 15 minutes, the fans really step up to the plate. I think that massively helps them. It used to be the case that Ewood moaned and groaned and was quiet a lot. I don't think it is anymore.
No, I think it's really improved. I was critical of it at times at Ewood, that something would go wrong straight away and it was mourning, but I think it's been very good under John Dahl. I think it's been very caring about the players. I think people appreciate it, young lads. I think that's definitely appreciated now, and it just pays. That's all you need. I've always said, if you back them to the end, if you've done your part, then
you can see they're giving their all. Do you think there's any mileage in thinking it's as well that we've been in the Championship, we've been in League One, that there's a little bit of a settling of expectations?
Yes, I think people are starting to kind of click that. Look where we are. Look at.
We don't have a God-given right.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think when you've had the time Rovers had over since 1995 to 2012, we had 2 years out. One of them were mid-table in the second tier, and then obviously we had that promotion. And we've been spoiled, haven't we, since then? We've had them years in Europe, etc. I think it's that. I think it's people understanding the position we're in and just knowing that if we're complaining, it's not really going to pick up. Mike, we'll round off soon as we look at score predictions. Now, I'll put all the tables on the Sunderland video just because we're live. We don't have them. Mike, what's score prediction and who's going to score?
I'm going to go 2-1 Rovers. Sam Gallagher obviously is going to score. I'm backing Sammy Smodic to come back with a bit of a bang after the break. I think he's going to be refreshed. He's going to have a bit of a point to prove. And I think Daryl Lenihan's going to score. He's not done it yet, has he? Well, he scored 4 of us, but he's going to score for them, I think, a weekend.
And for anyone else wanted to put theirs in, put it in the... Don't put it in the live chat, put it on the actual comments on the YouTube video so we can make sure that we count them. I'll go 2 on Rovers as well. I'll go Sam Gallagher and Semir Telalovic.
Oh, he's done it. He's done it.
And I will go for Lewis O'Brien from Middlesbrough, because we all know what happened there in January. But let us know in the YouTube comments what prediction you go for. Thank you very much for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe, do all that stuff. Let us know on Twitter at @Rovers_, if you'd like these a bit more often. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. And fingers crossed for 3 points at Ewood tomorrow.